And here we go again. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion on this Thursday morning. I will say this. It is absolutely bizarro world in these markets. John and I were just talking about this. We were talking about Seinfeld in that episode. And here's why. Yesterday, boy, everything seemed to be fantastic. Today, not so much. It's pretty amazing. So let's go back to yesterday and see exactly what was going on. We started off a little bit sluggish, but then there was an acceleration throughout the session, all the way from the lower left to the upper right. And we continue to accelerate all up until probably the last few minutes of the day. Gave back closing on the highs. Nonetheless, up 550 points on the Dow, up 220 points on the NASDAQ. We were up 2% yesterday in just about every major index except the Russell, which was up 3%. So you get an idea. It was really buying everywhere, and nobody seemed to have a whole lot of fear. Well, maybe they should have had a little bit of fear as we're looking into today. But crude did rip higher as well. That was up nearly 4%. Nat gas was up 3.5% or thereabouts. Volatility, that was coming down a little bit, but still held on to 30. Where you look at the volatility of the NASDAQ, the VXN was 38, came all the way back to 35. So that was something that we definitely wanted to take note of that. But it was the 2-year and the 10-year. The 2-year and the 10-year, the 2-year was up at 4.3. It pulled back, closed around 4.1. You have the 10-year up at 4, pulled back, closed around 373. They're moving again today, by the way. We'll get into that in just a second. What we did have was extreme volume as we were going through the trading session. And as we closed, 46 million contracts trading yesterday. Not the biggest day we've had in a while, but a monstrous day nonetheless. Our biggest day last week was that day where we were over 60 million contracts, but the 46 million, that's a really big number. So September certainly is delivering with some nice, strong volumes. Yesterday, Apple was the leader, 2.3 million contracts. Then you add Tesla, 1.4 million contracts. You know what was in third? To all the people out there who say, okay, when you split a stock, nothing changes. They're absolutely freaking wrong. Let's just be honest. I bring this up all the time. It's accessibility. It's all of those things. It's the volatility of those names as well. Those do change, and they absolutely have changed. Number 3, it was Amazon, 700,000 contracts trading yesterday. When you look at those volumes in the options world, you look at the volatility of what's happened with this name, you understand what I'm saying. Many things actually do change. Yes, we understand the split and everything else, but there are some ideas that you've got to also keep your mind open to when you've got these splits, especially an untouchable level for most people, the average Joe. The problem is most of Wall Street's arrogance is, well, they just speak for themselves. And we hate to do that. That's why we do boots on the ground here at Market Rebellion. It's why we talk about all the different things that you can do in the derivatives markets. Enough about that. Every single market yesterday sector was in the green. And that's always pretty impressive. The worst performer yesterday, technology. It was only up 1%. But when you look at energy was the lead. It was up nearly 4.5% yesterday. The big boys taking over. It was Chevron. It was Exxon. It was ConocoPhillips, all having a very, very good big day. Then you had communications. That was up over 3%. Names like Snap and Twitter and Pinterest and so many others were moving to the upside. Then you had the material space, up 2.25% yesterday. Alcoa, Freeport Mac, definitely taking the leadership role there, especially with Freeport Mac. Really, really nice day. Then you had the financials up about almost 2% yesterday. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and I'll even throw in some of the blockchain. I'll give you Amara. How about that? That was a nice performance yesterday as well. What also had a great day was Biogen, and Biogen with the Alzheimer's drug and some of the excitement that was around that. Talking about a 40% move to the upside yesterday. Absolutely extraordinary with that partnership with a Japanese firm as well. Definitely something that hit and was hitting very, very strong yesterday. We also had Netflix. We also had those beta energy names. Of course, with energy moving to the upside, you're going to see those beta names ripping as well. Names like Hess, Phillips 66, Marathon Petroleum, throw in a little Valero. You get the idea. All of them were absolutely exploding to the upside yesterday. We also had Lucid. We also had Meta. Meta being in that communications world, what a big performance day that was as well. You had Home Depot, you had Caterpillar, Goldman Sachs, American Express, all of those names. On the weaker side, tough to find too much, except for the biggest and baddest of the breed, and that was Apple, which actually improved throughout the session. Apple was down well over 3%. It recovered for the most part, a lot of that, but still did finish in negative territory. Then you had some of those semiconductors as well, like Qualcomm and Skyworks, some of those different names. Well, you come in today and that relief rally, well, things not looking so great today. We started off the day down about 200 points. Not terrible, but giving back a chunk. Next thing you know, you're looking at the Dow down 270, then down 3.25. It's almost like an auctioneer, down 490, down 520, down 560. Hey, do I hear 600? It was unbelievable how fast we were accelerating to the downside. And then you take a look over at the NASDAQ. It was moving in similar direction, but it was down 200, down 300, down 340, down 350. And that's exactly where the last time I looked, that's where we were. Things do change really rapidly in this markets. You've got crude oil was up near 82.50. That was pulling back a little bit. Nat gas around 7, but not able to get in and above that 7 level. Then you've got the volatility index starting to slide up, started at 32. Last I looked, 32.50. We had the VXN, the volatility index of the NASDAQ. It's around 37, getting a little bit closer to 38. You've got Bitcoin over 19,000. Then back underneath 19,000, but not holding up very well at all. You have the 2-year at a 4.2 today, and then you look over at the 10-year at a 3.8. So we are seeing a little bit of a lift from where we were yesterday after that big move up, that move back down. Here we are moving back up again, but a little bit short of yesterday's highs. September has been brutal across the board on all of the major indices. As you look across at the S&P, at the Dow, and the NASDAQ. And as we're just about ready to close out the month, down about 6% seems to be what everything is looking like right now. Not good. That's been the pressure that we've seen. We did talk about some of those volumes changing, but when you do have different parts of the market sliding, they slide in a hurry. And that's exactly what we've been seeing. Apple today gets a downgrade. That stock under some pressure. We had Bed Bath & Beyond not looking so good. A big loss once again, bigger than expected. Once again, stock getting hit to the downside. We do have Occidental where you've got Berkshire Hathaway continuing to buy, and now it's about 20.9% stake in that stock. So that's something pretty interesting to keep an eye on. You've got CarMax. All they did was completely slide down and completely disappoint with everybody, talking about the affordability challenge that they are facing for vehicles right now. That's a stock getting absolutely hammered. Last I looked, it was down anywhere between 17% and call it 20%. That was a name definitely getting hammered. So when we look at the day and how it's changed from the start of the day into this first hour, it was consumer discretion sliding from being down 2% to being down 3.3%. Communications down 2%, now down 3%. You had technology down 1.7%, down 3%. Materials down 1.5%, down 2.7%. You get the idea. Just about everything. Financials were down 1%. Now they're down about 2%. So across the board, including energy, everything seems to be getting absolutely hammered. The only little bit of green that I've been able to find today, and it is tough to find, some of the healthcare space, you had Merck, you had Bristol Myers barely in the green. And then we also had Visa early on in the green. Those things can change pretty rapidly as well because they were barely in the green. So I mentioned CarMax absolutely getting hammered along with others like GM, like Ford, like Splunk. You throw in an AMD, you look at NVIDIA under some huge pressure. NetEase and PDD, the Japanese stocks or Chinese stocks rather, also getting hit today. So across the board, we are seeing this. So thoughts, prayers, absolutely going out to everybody in Florida. I'm one of those folks. As a matter of fact, we just were finishing the building of a house, and suddenly we seem to be right caught up in the eye of the storm. We'll see what the damage is over time. It's not going to be pretty, but things are moving fast, as we know, and it's been rough, but prayers go out to everybody that hopefully they're safe, number one, and things aren't quite as bad as being reported, although unfortunately it does look really awful. Now, I got one unusual for you and we're out of here. I'm going to give you Ford. Ford trading just beneath 12. It's trading 1172. What are they doing today? Well, they're buying puts, and they are buying puts. By the way, right before I came on, we did not have a bullish call featured on our unusual option activity chain that we've got out there for our elite folks. Nothing. Everything red. Everything is put buying. Ford being one of those. Ford 9,800, actually it was 9,948. I'm not so sure why so specific, but that is the number that we did see getting bought. These are expiring in a few weeks out, 2.5 weeks or so. October 14th expiring. These are the 12 puts. So these are already in the money a little bit and getting a little bit of time. All those things very unusual. The earnings aren't until the 26th, so this is not an earnings play, but looking for Ford to definitely continue a little bit of the pullback. So that's an interesting one, going for about 66 cents is what we were seeing on those puts that were being bought today in Ford. Like I say, every single unusual option, at least in this first hour, has been, unfortunately, something that was looking for more to the downside. So we'll see if things change. John and I will have the Rebels Edge. We look forward to it on Mondays, on Tuesdays. Now that we're at Thursday, got a lot to cover, of course. Got 4 major topics. We, of course, got the macro minute, which is all it's worth. The macro gets it's just so fatiguing to hear everybody give opinions on that whole thing. And there are so many. Why not just go right at it and attack? Here's the macro. Here it is. We're done. Now you go 4. Then you get 2 unusuals. Then you've got 2 sports items. Actually, I'm going to slide it up to 3 sports items today because a record was set yesterday and we've got to hit that. But there's a lot to be said about the other sports we're hitting as well. I'm Pete Najarian. Have a great day of trading.